right, this what I'll share with you is actually a true story that took place in Dublin, Ireland. This is around 25 years ago. I'm surprised that I never mentioned the story, and how I suddenly remembered this was my client, who is more of a premium client. He very successful, well-to-do, everything great. He went through a series of hardships, lost his job, business went bust and all that. And all of a sudden, his so-called friends all vanished one by one, girlfriends. And he was just telling me how upset he was that people he thought would be there for him have now, shown their true colors. So, and then he was telling me, when I had taken your services many years ago, and I told people about it, they said, this guy is evil, he's satanic, he looks like an abnormal freak, and he's a scam artist, the typical stuff. He's saying today, all those so-called decent friends, those nice people, non-tattooed, religious, all have gone. You're there. I told him, yeah, obviously, because you're paying me money, right? But he said, no, I've lost all those so-called good guys. And now the people who I thought were not good guys or the bad guys, they are there for me. So that is where I remembered this story, and I'll share with you today. See, this goes back to my first marriage, when I married that girl from Dublin, Ireland. We were in a village called Clondalkin. Okay? Obviously, to protect her identity, I'll not give her name. But, if you've seen my divorce video, you know that she had lied about everything, and once I came there, I found out everything was a lie, and a complete disaster. But the worst part was, her family was supporting her, and they found nothing wrong, and there I got jacked. So, she was staying with her parents in the house. They have like a joint family, like 2-story house, and their daughters stay in one room and she stayed in one. And so when I came there, they had a separate house for us. That house was given by the council, in Dublin, Ireland. Just to make you understand, the council, they kind of support you if you need any help, you don't have a job. So her sister had 5 children from 5 different men, and she wanted support from the government, so they gave her a house, temporary house, that she could keep for some time, less rent and less this and less that. So we stayed there. Okay, we stayed there in one of the rooms. But now obviously, when the marriage was gone, she went back to staying in her house. I was staying there alone. And eventually, why would anybody want to stay in a house where I'm staying? So they ended up, all of them, staying with the parents. I was alone in the house. Now the problem was, I didn't have any money. I was not earning. I didn't have a job. I was this Indian guy in Dublin, Ireland. And I was trying to figure out how to survive. And the worst part was, she and her family, they didn't want to help me out. They didn't want to take me anywhere. The only thing they were doing was giving me food. Whenever I'd come there, they would give me food. But that also proved to be pretty embarrassing, because whenever I would go there for food, they'd say, they'd make faces and all that. And sometimes these jokes, these comments were kind of hurtful. You'll say it's racist, but I didn't feel it was racist. It was just off taste. Like they say, oh, this curry eating guy. Oh, the curry smelling guy. Oh, the guy eats with his hand. Yuck. Eats with his hand. How can these Indians eat? Yuck. So they would always make these faces, and when I come there, they would all walk in different directions and treat me as if I was some, disease. So I would go there as less as possible. But then, in Dublin, it is very cold, man. Especially in the winter months. Like it can be 3 degrees. 3 degrees. Man, 0 becomes ice. 3 degrees, sometimes 7 degrees. I remember It was at that time, 25 years ago, in France, they had a heat wave where people were dying. And the heat wave was 22 degrees. So you can imagine, these people are so used to cold, you know. But I was not used to cold. I was shivering all the while. And then obviously there was no food. And I'll tell you that being alone, sitting alone. And by the way, there was no Google that time. There's hardly any Google. There was hardly any social media. There was hardly any chatting. I didn't know what to do. So I had to walk around and try to figure things out by myself. They wanted me to go back. They said, why don't you just go back? You know, why are you here? But I said, no, I want to make things work. But they wanted me to go back. So they wouldn't support me in any way. They wanted to make it as hard as possible for me to leave. So it was at this time, as I was going around, walking around, checking shopping malls, checking for jobs as security or security guard for late night shift, or working in a, petrol station, putting petrol and all that. It was that time when I used to walk around, obviously I didn't have money for even the bus and all that. I used to always see this guy. This guy was a guy who used to always drink. He always had an alcohol bottle in his hand. His eyes were red. He was like this guy with full tattoos on his body, colorful, like, the old British sailors. They have one tattoo here, one tattoo here. And he used to wear like a sleeveless jeans. His jeans was hanging halfway down, and he used to walk like this, and he was pissed drunk. And there were these boys who used to make fun of him, and they used to call him names and throw stuff, and he'd say, hey, get the fuck out of here, and all that. And they were laughing and giggling. And so whenever I would pass by, they would make fun of him. And eventually as they would see me, these boys would talk to me. But I'd ask them, who's this guy? What is he? He's saying he's gone mad. He's a piece of shit, and he's always drunk. And they would always harass him. Like, even if, suppose someone was passing by, they would throw things at him, and he would, what the fuck, you, this and that. And he would say. So, for me, I have my own shit to worry about. So I was not too bothered about him. But they told me, keep away from him. He's a madman. So I used to look at him, and mind you, those days I never had a single tattoo. So I used to look at him, and he used to look at me. Hey, what are you looking at? I used to mind my own business. Now, one particular day, I remember I was very hungry. And in the night, I went around, I checked a shopping mall. There was this restaurant where after eating, at the back, they would throw this food. They had a lot of steak and potatoes and chicken and all that. So I would go there, and it was not like a dumpster kind of thing. They would throw this fresh food, and sometimes they would just distribute it they would keep it, anyone could take it. So I used to go there and take. But that particular day, maybe there was no many customers, all that. So there was no food to eat. So I came back after walking almost like 4-5 kilometers in the dark, shivering. And there was nothing to eat, so I went to sleep. Got up the next day, obviously hungry, Especially when it's cold, it's terrible, man. So as I was walking, and I once again saw this same drunkard guy. And he was there and walking, and he said, yeah, yo, where are you going? And, he was asking me. They have this typical way of speaking. Like Irish people, especially from the village, you cannot understand what they say, like Scottish people. Like, for example, if you're working in a convenience store and they want John Player Blue, that is a cigarette, they'll say, could you give me a John Player Blue? Could you give me a packet of John Player Blue? Could you give me a John Player Blue? So it's very hard to understand what they're saying. So when he saw me, he's like, what are you doing, mate? Where are you going? So, what are you doing, mate? Where are you going? And So I just told him, just walking, just going to check if there is any food. I told him, because, I mean, what can I do? He's saying, going for food? I said, yeah, I've not eaten anything. I'm just hungry. Ah, you hungry, mate? He was like, you hungry, mate? He had this bottle in his hand. He was still walking. Come. He put his arm, he came. I was little taken aback because not too sure what he's going to do. He went, he put his arm around me, this tattooed guy with earrings, big gold ones, and smelling of alcohol. He put his arm around me. Come. I really was uncomfortable. I wanted to, just get up. But I was like, okay, maybe he knows somewhere where they give food. He took me to a nearby pub. There was a pub, there are pubs in some areas. So he took me into a nearby pub where he used to get his alcohol beverages. How are you, man? Okay. So he took me there. And, he was a regular there and people knew, hey, what's going on, man? And this and that. And they saw me with him. Oh, you got yourself a new friend, yeah? You got yourself a new friend. And because, I would never go to a pub. I mean, what do I do there? So then he went, he sat down, and then he made me sit down. I was uncomfortable because a pub, I thought they're going to order alcohol, and I didn't want to have any alcohol. So I just kept quiet. I didn't know what was going on. So he said, hey, I just want a breakfast, man. So he ordered breakfast, and to my surprise, they served milk. Like he asked me, what do you like to drink? Like I said, I don't drink alcohol. No, would you like milk? A pint of milk. I was like, milk? I didn't know they serve milk in the pub. So he bought a big glass of milk. And, they have the English breakfast. Sausages, eggs, hash brown, beans, red beans and tomato, the thing. And then blood pudding. It's made from the blood of the animal. It's like a pudding. It's fried and it's a delicacy. And bacon and all that. And they eat heavy meat. And I just looked at him and he's like, for you, man. He did. So I was very hungry. So I ate. I was very happy. Drank a little bit of milk. And after I finished, this guy said, I don't know, he spoke something, he gave some money, and then he walked out with me, and as he walked out, he was like, so, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm okay. And they said, okay, I'll go, okay? You take care, and he walked off. Now just imagine, he gave me food to eat, he didn't say anything, and he just walked off. So I kept quiet, then obviously went around searching for a job and all that. There was nothing. After a few days, as I was walking again, trying to check for a job, I saw this big truck, only the front part of the truck, not the back end. This big truck comes, you have to attach another thing to the truck. It came there and it honked, and I just looked as I was walking. So I was like, who's this? And it was the same guy. He said, why don't you hop on? So I was like, come, we'll go somewhere. So I was like, okay, not doing anything. Hopped on, went to sat in his truck. He actually took me with him as he was doing his work. And he had to do some deliveries or whatever. He had to leave the truck and take another truck. And as he was taking me around, he obviously stopped in some convenience store, bought me something to eat. He was not as drunk as that time, but obviously he still loved to drink. And he was asking me about my life. He was asking me about what was I doing here. And I didn't have anyone else to talk to. So I spoke to him and told him. The guy actually started to cry. And he said, yeah, you're a good mate. You're a good mate. Don't worry. And I'll tell you, after we finished, he took me for, I think, 6 hours or whatever. As he was leaving me, he gave me some money. He's saying, this for you, just keep it. I didn't have much of an option, so I took the money. And this continued for the next 2-3 days. But however, my situation over there was becoming back to worse. The family, those people, they were making my life miserable. And then obviously I think the word got around that I was hanging around with this guy. So they really wanted me out. And they made my life miserable. They said, you have to vacate that premises and this and that. And finally I had to let go of the dream of being, abroad, and literally begged money from people that I knew to book my ticket to bring me back home. Now the thing is, I had to travel to the airport, and none of these people were willing to help me. So, and I didn't want to tell them also. So just one day before I had to travel, I went to this guy. I knew where he stayed by then. I told him if you could just drop me to the airport. He said, sure man, yeah. And I'll tell you, he drove me all the way to the airport. And, I was crying like crazy, man. I was crying like crazy because, when you have to let go of a dream, when you failed miserably, when you have suffered so much, it's very hard to be strong. I was completely devastated, completely destroyed. And this guy, he, before going, again, he gave me some money. He said, you be strong, and don't worry, And then he left me and he went away. Now, why am I sharing this story with you? See, I'm pretty sure you have seen these Facebook updates, and you see sometimes, there is a very famous JPEG image where they show some of the nicest people I've met are with, tattoos, and they don't go to church, and they smoke and they drink. You must have seen that. I'm not trying to justify my tattoos that I'm good, but the point I'm trying to tell you is, the people who are decent, the people who are nice, the people who take the name of God 100 times, like her family, they were all church going. They didn't have tattoos. They were all spiritual, so-called spiritual, whatever. They were spending time as a family. They were doing the Christian values. Did they help me? No. And those, boys and everyone who was making fun of him, they were also raised in a good family and all that. But they were making fun of this guy who was drunk and, with tattoos and all that. And he was judged by everyone. He was a bad guy. But in my time of need, this drunk guy, this guy with tattoos, this outcast, the person whom everyone told me was evil, he helped me. He was there for me. And he never once spoke about, I'm giving you the money, give me back. When can you give me back? He would just, see me and come. You can say, okay, fine, he was alone, he doesn't have a family, but he didn't have to do it. He didn't have to be nice to me, he didn't have to help me, he didn't have to go out of his way, but he chose to. So, what I want to tell you through this video is, sometimes whom we judge are good people, whom we think are the true friends, who we think are the ones who will be there for us. Generally, those are the very people who betray us. And like this, if someone takes the name of God 100 times, that is a person you need to keep away. And in my experience, I don't know about anyone else, those people who take the name of God multiple times, I would always tell people, keep away from them. They are the worst of the worst. For me, I don't know that guy's name. I don't know anything about him. The only thing I remember was, he was there for me in my time of need. And he helped me without asking for anything in return. And for that, I will always remember him, So I shared this story with my client, and he said, yeah, kind of the same story. My so-called friends, cousins, brothers, this, that, all the so-called ass kissers, sweet talkers, and That is why, religious people always told me, don't worry, you don't have food, God will give you. But they would never give me. They said, God will give you. But it is these atheists and it is these people who don't believe in God. Sometimes they are the ones who help. And like I told you, in my life, it's not just the atheist. My surprising thing was Muslims. So many of them. They were the ones who helped me in my time of need. Not my Christian people. They didn't even give me a penny. Not Christian people. There was one Christian guy, George, whom maybe I'll speak about next time. But nobody else. So anyway, let me know if you can relate to this story. And let me know if what I said rings a bell. Do you agree with the fact that those who take the name of God 100 times, they are the biggest crooks? Or is it just my imagination? And when you're in your time of need, it's never the people you expect. It's always the unexpected angels. Anyway, good, bad, ugly, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is me signing off. You guys take care. Ciao.